As mentioned, Swagger will be used often to generate code based on the API. That will happen in the client side. So I think it's a good idea to see the Swagger endpoint visualized with Swagger UI at this point. So using Swagger, we can actually get a documentation of the API, and in this case that will be the API that is exposed by the server-side ASP.NET Core application in ASP.NET 0. Using something called Swagger UI, it's actually very easy to visualize that UI and already test the API as well. So I'm here on the swagger.io website, and you can click here to get a live demo. So this is the typical UI that you see when you have Swagger UI enabled for your application. So here you see that we have a couple of methods which are related in this case to pets. Some are related to store, user, and so on and so on. I can test all of these. For example, I can click here on this get method. And so this is the documentation about this call. It says that we will get pets based on their status. So the available values are available, pending, and sold. So I can click here on try it out now. I can then select available and then execute this call. After a couple of seconds, we get the response and we see indeed that we have received a 200 with the response body that was received in this case. So this way we get a very clean overview using Swagger UI of the API and its endpoints, and also of the responses that are returned by those endpoints. Now, ASP.NET 0 also comes with support for Swagger UI built in. It is enabled by default nowadays. So let's take a look. So let's go back to Visual Studio and run the application. And I have shown this already, but I'm going to show it again. So this will show the Swagger UI page by default. And here we see all the entities, so account, audit log, caching, and so on and so on. So those were the ones that were the folders in the application project. So basically the application services which are exposing themselves as API endpoints. Now, since these calls only allow authenticated requests, we first have to authenticate, and that too is possible. You can see here that I'm currently logged in, and then I can launch my requests authenticated. Now, Swagger is something that needs to be enabled in ASP.NET Core and thus also in ASP.NET 0. Here we're looking at the startup file, and here we see that we are adding Swagger to the services collection, so basically to the dependency injection collection with a number of options and parameters. And next we also need to enable Swagger. And that is done here, down here in the configure method, where I call use Swagger to enable the middleware. And then I also do the same thing for the Swagger UI.